So my name's David Fowler, and I've been a consultant for 15 years. Within PwC, I'm part of the digital team. Loosely speaking, when we try and deliver digital propositions for clients, we actually bring together three different skill sets, and those are people with a very deep business or business expertise. We have experienced designers, so people who can really bring the user experience and the design element of the solution. And then we have a technology arm as well. And I sit within the technology group because that's where my background is. But it's the complement of the three that we believe is important. Well, I think innovation is basically the ability to come up with new ideas and then most importantly to deliver on those ideas. But I think the really interesting question here is not what is innovation, but how do I achieve it? Because one of the problems that I see at many clients is that clients very much look at innovation as being a point-in-time initiative. So they think about the need to innovate and they come up with an idea, some kind of flagship project, and then deliver on that project. And what we try and do is help clients to really think through how they build a capability of innovation and something that can be sustained. And we have a proposition called the Innovation Jumpstart that allows us to do that. Yeah, so the Innovation Jumpstart is effectively a method that's underpinned by 6 different work streams, each of those work streams having a different objective, and we believe that the holistic nature of that proposition is what makes it compelling. Now, no client is exactly the same. So of course, not all clients need us to work in all 6 areas, and sometimes they ask us just to work in 1 or 2 areas. But just to give you a view as to what this looks like and what it means, the first work stream is something called Discover. And the objective of the discovery work stream is to put a mechanism in place where we can not only harvest ideas, but also have processes in place for the continuous generation of ideas. And then most importantly, having a process in place that allows us to create this idea funnel. So having a mechanism and framework for working out what ideas we want to take forward. And then, a number of those will come out as projects in their own right. The second thing that happens in the discovery space is also thinking about how we create an innovation hub. So lots of clients now are very keen on actually having a physical environment where they can take people from their team to actually stimulate different thinking. So all of that sits within the discovery work stream. The second work stream is called Inspire, and the whole point of the Inspire work stream is it's really about trying to connect an organisation to all of the different people that exist out there, so building a network of alliances. So that might be startups, it might be academia, it could be thought leaders, and so on and so forth. And we feel that's important because it allows net new thinking to be brought into the organisation. It raises the art of the bar in terms of the art of the possible, what can be achieved, and it also creates new ecosystems for people to work and deliver together. The third work stream is called Create, and the whole point of the Create work stream is to try and show how we can break down this big step of having an idea and then going to a project. And we find that many clients really struggle with what that is, because it's a big leap from having an idea to then having a signed off business case that allows you to move forward. So the whole idea of that work stream is to show how we can make very small baby steps to move ideas forward. So we go from an idea to a prototype, some kind of high level feasibility assessment, to an MVP, to a pilot, to an iterative developed solution. So all of that is around that. And you'll notice that from what I've just said over those 3 work streams so far, all of that is fundamentally around being able to create ideas, harvest ideas, and then actually being able to deliver on those ideas. The second part of it, so the other 3 work streams that I'm about to talk about, are really around how you sustain that moving forward. And that's what I mean about not having point-in-time innovation. So the next work stream is called Enable, and that's really thinking about what your operating model looks like. So do you have the skills in the organisation that you need to deliver on innovation? Also, what about governance frameworks, funding, and all of these types of things? Accelerate is the next work stream, looks at how a company is working and how it can be done faster, better, cheaper. Quite often thinking about things like agile ways of working and these types of things to achieve outcomes in a different way. And the last work stream is around sustain, and sustain is around how we can help a client really stand up on their own 2 feet. So the goal of what we try and do with the Innovation Jumpstart is not to have any dependence on us, but build their level of capability. So hiring people into roles or backfilling them, training them, mentoring them, and actually elegantly leaving the organisation is what the last work stream is about. And I said that's the holistic nature of the proposition. So, I think the first thing you need to think about is, where do I want to innovate, or what do I want to do? Or even as an organisation, what do I want to be? Because we need to start by framing the problem statement that we're trying to fix. And we do use the analogy sometimes, which is, some people just kind of shoot frogs in barrels. They're innovating all over the place without a real purpose to what they're trying to achieve. So I think the first thing is about framing what is the problem and generating the ideas. The ideas to prototypes and actually moving those forward, the first step is quite a quick thing to do, and you don't need a big team to do it. But beyond that, you've then got to think about how you actually deliver a number of projects in parallel. And one of the things that we try and think about is the operating model that supports that. Personally, I'm a fan of effectively having a key innovation team in some cases, and then effectively using a number of alliance partners, startups and so forth to deliver a number of these projects, and that gives the scalability. Well, I think it's really important that organisations nowadays don't just look inward at themselves, and I've said this to many clients even as recently as this week, which is the reality is the best ideas probably don't sit in the room that you're in. It's really important to bring as much thinking as you can into the organisation, and successful clients are doing that. Well, I think there's a number of different ways that technology can help to that particular problem. In the first instance, I think that the whole idea of having a platform to actually harvest your ideas and move those forward is really, really key. And of course, Idea Drop is one of the platforms that we use, to deliver that point. And I think that really is a very important point, to be absolutely honest, because another problem that the clients do struggle with is this whole idea of kind of idea avalanche, where they open the floodgates and ask the business for ideas. Thousands of ideas come in, and then it's where do you go first? But also, if you don't have that mechanism in place for actually working out which ideas you progress and which ones you don't, and communicating your reasons why, you lose faith with the business. So I think that's a really key technology. The other thing that I would draw particular attention to is some of the technologies that support agile ways of working, and specifically rapid prototyping. And I think the rapid prototyping is one of the kind of big steps forward that have been made actually in this kind of landscape over the last few years, because it's a very nice, easy way now of rapidly turning an idea into something tangible that you can test, that you can get feedback on and stakeholder buy-in, that allows you to then move into delivery. Yeah. So the easiest way of describing a rapid prototype is a little bit like a series of images that are quite often clickable, so that you can click through a series of images and see what an application might look like. So you're not actually building code behind it, you're just building effectively a wireframe or an illustration of what a product might look like and how it might work. So you've removed all of that complexity and quite quickly got something that people can see and touch and feel. It's critical. Yeah, it's critical. Innovation in itself always creates just a natural skepticism, because an organisation is built on whatever it does, and that's what people know and understand. And anything that's out of that is always going to have this slight fear attached to it. We find that innovation only really works, and actually also the same with things like agile delivery, when you've got top-down sponsorship. So we always try and look for a director of transformation or a chief operating officer, or sometimes it's a CIO who's really got this passion to do something different, and then use them as effectively the sponsor for the program. Well, I think what's really fascinating is that all industries have got this problem, and generally we are working in all industries, helping them innovate. On the one spectrum, you have financial services and insurance, so fintech and insurtech. They're really the leaders in this space, and a lot of the big clients there have already done an awful lot of innovation work. But all other industries are playing catch up. So we've done an awful lot of work recently with, for example, water, because the water market is very interesting. It's about to be deregulated, so the whole market's changing. They're going to have to think about how they play in that space. But as an extreme example to illustrate my point, we spoke to a funeral directors a few weeks ago, and they're really worried about the fact that you can now effectively go online and effectively buy all of the parts you need to create your own funeral service. So that they are seeing disruption there as well, and therefore they're now thinking not only how do I protect my business, but how do I grow net new revenue streams. So it does demonstrate that really this problem works across the board. We've done we've worked in water industries, and there's one or two of the leading UK water companies where we've helped them build the innovation team and done all of those 6 work streams that we've talked about. But there's also a number of places where we've just done smaller things. So for example, point interventions to help generate ideas or move some ideas forward, or to do some training for a team, or measure digital maturity. So it's not always the same shape and feel of the project. So the financial services and insurance are the most innovative, and then I think everybody else is kind of equal speed. I mean, what's really interesting is I speak to many different clients in different industries, and they all seem to look over their shoulder and say, we're not quick at doing this, or we're not the best, we know there's better people out there. But in my experience, most people actually are relatively slow in the way they're moving. So I don't think there's many leaders out there at the moment, my observation. Well, I think the main thing is that you need to do something, right? Because, you know, we see a lot of clients who are so fearful of doing something, they do nothing at all. And, you know, with disruption impacting all industries, that's the worst case scenario. We also see lots of industries as well that really think about this an awful lot. So they'll think about how they want to innovate and spend 18 months thinking about it. Meanwhile, they're not actually really delivering on any innovation. So the main thing I would say is it's really important to just, you know, try and get going. And the second thing that I'd say that goes alongside that is how you get going. And I think what works well is to really have a small team focused in this initially to demonstrate some success, and it's really important that you do have some wins early on, because that's what gets people excited and gives you kind of the ticket to do bigger and greater things, and then roll out from there. And the third thing, I guess, is, you know, in line with what I've just talked about, it's really important that you think holistically about innovation and cover all of those different bases that I've just talked about. Very difficult. Yeah, very, very difficult. I don't have a great answer for this, to be absolutely honest. I think when you've got a specific project, like with anything else, you have a business case and a set of KPIs as to what that delivers. But I think around the whole idea of idea generation is very difficult to do that, because KPIs can also encourage the wrong behaviours. And what I mean by that is, for example, if you say a key KPI is how many ideas we're generating, you know, what's more important, having 1,000 poor ideas or one really good idea? And if you're trying to say, for example, we want 80% of ideas to be thrown away so that 20% move forward, you know, does that mean you're throwing away too many or too few? So I think actually, to be honest, you have to some degree, you have to have a little bit of an open pass for the core innovation team and accept there is a notional amount of funding to provide that team. But then really the KPIs, I think, are when you've got a specific idea, something you can then measure.
Great. David, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.